Let's head to Japan. We were once big in Japan. Niamh Briggs, how are you?
Hi guys, how are you?
Very good, very good. We're excited to see what's coming your way for the next 10 days or so. What is Japan like for a touring team? What's it actually like to be out there at the moment?
Yeah, look, it's incredible. We've been here since last Friday. We arrived into a typhoon for Friday and Saturday in Tokyo. Got a bullet train down to Hamamatsu on Saturday, and it's been absolutely scorching since. Upwards 36, 37 degrees. So it's been tough for the girls to be training in, but they've been brilliant. The effort's been unreal. But from a tourist point of view, it's an amazing place. Definitely something that anybody who can should try and go. Owen, I know you're heading off for a year there. You should definitely try and put it into your bucket list. It's an unbelievable experience.
Owen, of course, was there for the World Cup, and
oh, I remember.
Yeah, he would go around telling everybody he was a YouTuber, and that was like the best thing you could possibly be in Japan.
That was the best content I remember from that World Cup.
the content obviously was kind of despite the what was happening on the pitch, like the Hamamatsu factor there is like PTSD, proper PTSD from an Irish rugby supporting standpoint. Like that's obviously where the team stayed, or certainly where the media stayed right before that disaster in Fukuroka, wasn't it, the game against Japan? So there's no PTSD on your front, I suspect.
No, there's not. We're heading there tomorrow for a captain's run, and play there Saturday, obviously. And to be fair, somebody the other day said, "Oh God, this is where Ireland played Japan in the World Cup." But I hadn't really copped, to be honest. But look, it's just been an incredible experience for this group of players. You know, we've never been on a tour before like this, never been on a summer tour. So to get the opportunity to try and, I suppose, build more strength and depth. We've a lot of young girls on the squad that are, you know, hoping to make an impression over the next few weeks, and it's just going to do us good stead, obviously, with the good news coming in relation to the high performance side of the game and rolling straight into the Six Nations. So I think it's just a really good time for women's rugby in Ireland. It's obviously been a while since we can say that, but I just genuinely believe it.
How many do you actually have on the tour at the moment? What's the number of players you have with you?
With 29 players. Lots of them are incredibly young. It's scary to see. And 18, 19 years of age, good chunk of them just under leaving cert, and they've come into this environment and they're thriving. And it's unbelievable to see. I think for us, very much kind of as a coaching ticket, we wanted to make it as developmental as possible, because obviously we're in, you know, Japan are heading to the World Cup in September, October. We're not. So we need to have this opportunity to try and continue to build and grow strength and depth and kind of get over that hump of, you know, I feel like for the last few years we've been saying we're building all the time. We need to start now finding players of international calibre that can play week in, week out for Ireland, and I think this group can for sure.
Is there an extra pep in the step, Niamh, from everybody involved when news of professional contracts get announced and that idea of there being light on the horizon? Can you just feel like a lift in the entire camp?
Oh, hugely. It was unbelievable. We were in Dublin camp for the week before we came out here, and it had just been announced about Gillian McDarby taking on the role of the high performance. I think everybody was really excited about that, and obviously the announcement of the contracts afterwards, and even just when we're here, you know, full-time physio that's been appointed, it's really, really good, and, you know, full-time S&C now at Ed, and I think it's just starting to, the direction of the game and the program is starting to change, and I think from that point of view, you know, it's tangible. You can actually see it, so it's great. It's brilliant. I mean, you can see the players too. They're really buying into it. They're loving the fact that, you know, they're going to be on par now with everybody else, hopefully, and I suppose the beauty of it is that it's a program that's brand new and can be so, you know, it can be so good for the game within the country, because it's something that you're literally starting from scratch. And I think that's just a really exciting project to be involved in.
With 43 centralised contracts, I don't know, does that include or not include the sevens? I'm not sure if that detail has been announced yet, but that means that there's loads of people who are still maybe not in the squad who can actually look a little bit enviously, but be working away and thinking, you know, I want to make sure that I am next in line for that as well.
Yeah, hugely. And look, to be fair, you know, there's going to be players in this squad that might not be able to be contracted in relation to their work situations and their living situations, and they'll still continue to play for Ireland, I imagine. I think it's just the case that we've got to start somewhere in terms of the foundation of what we're trying to build. And it's definitely, you're right, it's something that young girls now at 16, 17, 18 years of age can aspire to be. They can aspire to be contracted rugby players, and get into that high performance environment. I think that's the most important thing. I think we've always trained and wanted to be aligned with the high performance side of the union, and we're here now, and it's about educating young players and girls of what high performance looks like. It's not just about training and recovery. It's about strength and conditioning. It's about the ability to be robust and to train day in, day out. That'll be something, that's not most girls, all of us wouldn't have been used to before in terms of the load and the management of it. So there's loads of little mini facets, but I just think it's a really, really exciting time for the game. And I just think that, it's starting to now put it on the map and take these players seriously. I think that's something they've been crying out for a very long time.
With the makeup of the squad that you have, when should we expect to see a discernible style of play and an identity for the team? Again, because it's hard in the Six Nations. There's been a tier of the professional teams and the non-professional teams. So I think people probably need to temper their expectations a little bit about what the outcomes are going to be in the immediate short term. But this is very much a long-term project with the makeup of the squad you've got. At the same time, you guys as coaches, you want to implement a game plan and look for patterns of play and look for partnerships and look for good behaviour. So within that context, what constitutes success for you guys over the period of the next 10 days, for example?
That's a really interesting question, because we haven't really spoken about. I don't think it's a case of, well, if we go and win 2 tests, then it's been really successful. I think the more exposure that we can give to players, the high level of training, the more exposure we can give them to actual physical game time, the more exposure they get to understand what it is to play international rugby, then we've definitely come away with a win from these couple of weeks. I think they've put a huge amount of work in over the summer. Greg and John have been running a program for anybody who wasn't working. So like teachers and the college students, they've been literally training a few days a week in the HBC in Dublin. So I feel like we're moving forward all the time with this group. Even like obviously we've a lot of young girls, but also the older players that are there and have been there for the last few years. I just feel like that we've, in terms of the skill level, it's been a big work on for us. Our ability to catch, pass, the breakdown, those kind of core skills, they're got to be the foundation of what we're trying to build on. And the patterns and the style and the structures, they have to come afterwards. But you've got to make sure that you're fit and robust enough to be able to continue to train at a really high level. And I think that from a short to medium term, that's got to be the focus. Whilst trying to, I suppose, empower players to get better at rugby and understand the game more, but you've got to try and find a balance to it too, because you obviously don't want to go out and play no rugby. You've got to make sure that your rugby quota is getting checked, but also that strength and conditioning side of it as well. So look, we haven't, I think for us as a group, we're just looking to continue to get better over the next 10 days. I think the level of training here has been unbelievable. I think it helps when the weather's really good, although the players are probably saying it's too hot, and the facilities are amazing that we're training at the moment. So I just think for us as a group, it's seeing the actual culture, the environment to move to another gear, but also that understanding of the game and their core skills. I think that's probably what we'll mark down as a win.
Yeah, it's kind of never ending, isn't it? Like it's quite daunting when you list out all the things that you need to get better at, but at the same time it's quite exciting in that you actually have the opportunity to work on everything.
Yeah, 100%. I don't find it daunting at all. I just think that this seems to be the start of a new era for this team and this squad, and there are players that aren't here with us through injury or otherwise, and they've still got to come back into the mix as well. So I feel like for now, I think that women's rugby in Ireland, although it's been through a turbulent few years, it's definitely on the up, and I think that the environment and the culture, this high performance appointment is going to be really good for the game.
Can you explain to people who maybe are unfamiliar, what will the difference of Gillian McDarby being there, what will her role be, and what will the difference of having somebody in that role as proficient as she is to actually run it? What difference will that make to women's rugby in Ireland?
Yeah, look, I just think it's probably aligning it more to just the female game. Gillian's incredibly good at her job. I've had the pleasure of working with her when I was a player, and she's always seems to be the type of person, seems to be brilliant at everything, and I've no doubt that she'll excel in this role. Her role will basically be, at the head of high performance and also the pathways. And I think that's the most important part of the role, in my opinion, because we need to make sure that we have foundations and pathways in place for young girls to have something tangible to come through to. And I think I've always said it wasn't a case about throwing money and contracts to players and having nothing underneath it, because it would be very short-lived then. It'd be like almost, that USA soccer, women's soccer leagues for years. They'd have a big burst of money and they'd have 2 or 3 years of a league, and then they'd have nothing for a few years afterwards. Players would be let go. And I think that pathways is so important. Both Gillian and Katie Fitzhenry in there are doing a really good job on that, and hopefully we'll see the fruits of that labour over the next few years. But, you hit the nail on the head a little while ago. We've got to be patient now. This can't be a quick fix. And, I feel like I'm sounding like a broken record, but it can't, because we need to make sure that the foundations that are there, the pathways that are in place for, under 18s, 20s, into that senior level, will be there forever, and will continue to, be almost like a conveyor belt for young girls and players to be able to push themselves forward for a national team. So, look, I'm really looking forward to seeing the impact that Gillian can have on this game. I think it's genuinely really exciting, and I'm just delighted to be involved in it.
What's that been like as a coach then, having to remind yourself that patience is required? Because I'm sure everybody who's new to the coaching game has their own ideas and their own things that they want to imprint on a team, especially if you're going to be working with the backs. Have you had to kind of think to yourself, listen, this is a building process myself, and it's going to take time before my own ideas on this team before I can actually put my own stamp on this team?
Yeah, look, absolutely. Part of you is very aware that you've got to be patient both with yourself and the players around you, but also it's an international team, and you've got to make sure that you've got standards, and you've got to affect that change for those standards. So while they're young and I'm relatively new at coaching, we still got to keep pushing and striving to be better all the time. And so we do a lot of work off the pitch in terms of the back line. We do a lot of work in terms of trying to get understanding in timing and lines, and yeah, look, I think it's brilliant. But while I, to a considerable extent, I'm patient enough, I think it's important that we keep driving those standards and making sure that the time that we have on the pitch is very limited. You can't really waste reps doing not knowing your role and being sloppy, and like, so they're kind of the stuff that the girls have come up with themselves that are kind of their non-negotiables in terms of their behaviours. So from that point of view, it's kind of easy enough to be patient, because that they're working really, really hard, and if it's a mistake, it's just a genuine mistake. And on the flip of that, they've got to be patient with me, because I'm also learning on the job as well. So, but it's been great. Look, Greg, John and Dennis have been brilliant over the last few weeks, so it's just a really good journey, I suppose.
How good are this Japanese team?
Yeah, they're very good. They're similar to their men's style. They like to move the ball really, really quick. They're not absolutely massive, they're not huge, but they're incredibly proficient at all those core skills. Their breakdown work is exceptional. Their ability to catch passes is really, really good. And they've coming off the back of 2 tests against South Africa. They played Fiji not so long ago, and Australia in June. So they've had a huge amount of time together over the summer, and obviously they're heading to the World Cup. So look, we're under no illusion that it's a big task in front of us, but I think that we continue to kind of focus on ourselves and what we can do, and try and expose these young girls to as much kind of game time and international experience as we can. Then I'm not really sure that the result is going to be the main point of it for us afterwards. It might be to the outer public or the wider scale of things, but not for us really.
Well, look, we wish you the very best of luck with it. We're delighted to hear everything is going so well for you. Enjoy the rest of your time. Those games are live on TG Car, by the way, if everybody wants to watch them on Saturday as well. Niamh, great to talk to you again. Thanks a million. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Best of luck on.